Happy to be here today. I'm Ann Schneider, Secretary of the Department of Transportation for the state of Illinois, and I'm really excited to be here today. We're going to be executing, I think, what is a very important step in the high-speed rail program for the state of Illinois, and also I think the railroad relocation and consolidation for the city of Springfield and Sangamon County. I think this is an exciting day. I know that many of you are aware that last night the City Council approved this agreement between the city and the state of Illinois, and we're excited about actually moving this project forward. And I want to talk to you a little bit to let you know that this commitment is a result of Governor Pat Quinn's commitment to high-speed rail and the high-speed rail program, and also to the city of Springfield. He thought it was important that we dedicate $8.65 million, up to $8.65 million, to pay for half of the Phase 2 engineering, which is the design engineering for the relocation and consolidation of rail in Springfield along the 10th Street corridor. This project is really going to be done in three different ways here in Springfield, and I want to make sure that everybody understands what is going on, because they may see some things and question why we're doing things a certain way at the Department of Transportation. First of all, we've got to make some improvements along this 3rd Street corridor, and those improvements are a result of our current high-speed rail grant from the federal stimulus package, and that grant lays out specifically what improvements have to be made. And so the improvements that we're going to be working on the 3rd Street corridor are safety improvements that we're going to put in place until we can get the 10th Street consolidation done. And those improvements include things like 4-quadrant gates, and also gates for pedestrians to make sure that those passages or those rail crossings are as safe as they possibly can be. And we appreciate the work that the department is doing and working with the city on getting those improvements done. But it's really important that we get those improvements done as part of that grant for the high-speed rail program from the federal government, because if we don't do those specific improvements, we could face some penalties with the federal government. And so we're going to be doing that. And the good news is that by doing those projects, those improvements will make the city of Springfield eligible to apply at no cost for a quiet zone along the 3rd Street corridor. And I think that will be a huge enhancement to what's going on here in the city in terms of development. Along the 10th Street corridor, as I mentioned, we are committing up to $8.65 million from the Governor's Illinois Jobs Now Capital program for the Phase 2 engineering. And what we're doing there is really important, because we've completed the Phase 1 or the Tier 1 engineering and Tier 2 engineering, and we got a record of decision in December for that particular improvement. And now we're going to be working very hard with the city of Springfield, with Sangamon County, to try to identify the funds for the other half of the Phase 2 engineering, the design engineering, and then also the construction. So we are working with them and talking to our federal partners to find ways that that additional resources could be made available for this very important project for this area. And then the final piece, which is something that the people of Springfield may not be totally aware of, is we're also working on a Springfield flyover, which is just to the south of town. And this is where there are two railroads that intersect at grade. And what it can do is lead to backups of freight trains into the community. And so we're doing this work on this Springfield flyover, as we're calling it. We got the record of decision for Tier 1, so now we're working on Tier 2, the environmental impact statement for Tier 2. And once that project can continue to move forward, that will also alleviate some of the delays that people experience at grade crossings here in town. So that's another important piece of the project that we're working on here. The bottom line is, I think this is an important day. I think it's an important improvement for both the city, the county, and for the state of Illinois. And I'm proud to be here to talk to you about that on behalf of the state of Illinois. But I really think it's important also to get the local perspective. And I really have to salute both Mayor Houston and Chairman Van Meter. They were very persistent, and they were critical to making sure that this project keeps moving forward. And I think we should give them a lot of credit for the work that they've done on this. And with that, I'd like to call up Mayor Houston to also talk about this project.
Good morning, and thank you, Ann, and thank you for all your help in getting us to this point. There are a few items more important to the long-term future of Springfield than where high-speed railroad tracks are located. This morning I am pleased to join Ann Schneider, the Director of the Illinois Department of Transportation, and Andy Van Meter, Chairman of the Sangamon County Board, to announce the approval of the Intergovernmental Cooperation Agreement and a funding agreement that will allow the city to begin the planning and design phase of the 10th Street Railroad Track Corridor. The Springfield City Council and the Sangamon County Board both approved the Intergovernmental Cooperation Agreement and the funding agreement at their respective meetings last night. The Illinois Department of Transportation will be providing $8.65 million towards an estimated cost of $18.3 million for planning and design. With the designation of a record of decision by the Federal Railroad Administration of the 10th Street Railroad Corridor as the preferred route for high-speed trains to move through Springfield this past December, we are now ready to move forward with the next phase of the project. It has been estimated that design through construction of the 10th Street Railroad Track Corridor will take 8 years and have an estimated cost of $315 million in 2010 dollars. By moving forward with the planning and design, we are putting ourselves in a position to be shovel-ready when federal dollars become available to move forward with this project. As I've said all along, getting the record of decision was the first step. Getting the funding to complete the 10th Street Railroad Track Corridor will be the major obstacle. Fortunately, we have some great partners that are working with us. At the federal level, senior United States Senator Dick Durbin has provided leadership in helping us to receive our record of decision, and we have the support of United States Senator Mark Kirk, Congressman Aaron Schock, and Congressman Rodney Davis. We are counting on these members of our congressional delegation to continue to support our efforts. Governor Quinn and Ann Schneider have been great partners to work with, and with their assistance and the help of this planning and design funding, we are in a good position to move the project forward. In moving the project forward, I would like to announce that the City of Springfield and Sangamon County have applied for a United States Department of Transportation Tiger Grant with the support of the Illinois Department of Transportation. The Tiger Grant application requests $14.4 million towards a $21.8 million project that would be a usable segment of the 10th Street Railroad Track Corridor. This project would build an underpass at Carpenter Street and the 10th Street Railroad tracks. The Carpenter Street underpass would improve safety by closing 3 at-grade crossings and improve emergency health care services for thousands of residents who need to cross from east to west on Carpenter Street to obtain emergency medical services at St. John's Hospital and Memorial Medical Center. The Tiger Grant applications were due Monday to the United States Department of Transportation, and grants will be awarded on a competitive basis. There is approximately $475 million available for these Tiger grants, but if the past is any indication of the amount of grant requests that will be received, the expectation is that over $20 billion of applications will be submitted. The city highly appreciates the ongoing collaboration of our partners at all levels of government, including our state partners, and look forward to continuing to work with them on both our rail consolidation efforts and the very important task of making Springfield a model of resiliency for decades to come. By locating the rail traffic from 3rd Street tracks to the 10th Street corridor, the trains will be using the safest corridor that provides the best east-west flow for vehicular and pedestrian traffic and will eliminate all train whistles in Springfield. The 10th Street Railroad Corridor offers the opportunity to build a new train station that will be a catalyst for economic development in East Springfield and will create numerous jobs and business opportunities in our community. And now I'd like to turn it over to the Chairman of the County Board, Andy Van Meter.
I think the mayor has spoken eloquently for the community. I would just thank the two unseen heroes of today's accomplishment. Senator Durbin, who's secured the initial funding that allowed us to develop the study showing that 10th Street was the right corridor for rail traffic in this community, and Governor Quinn, who with this commitment today of $8.5 million when resources are scarce for the state of Illinois, has demonstrated that he really wants to do the right thing by the capital city and improve our community with the 10th Street corridor construction. This is one more step in what will be a multi-step project, but we're one step closer to realizing the 10th Street vision. Thank you.
And I love the train whistles. They're very appropriate.
Yeah, I was just going to say, it's almost like it's on cue. When we get the work done, we can have that be a quiet zone. We won't have that interruption anymore. I think what we have left to do now is I need to sign the agreement, and my chief counsel's here with me today, Chief Counsel 40. I hope you brought a pen. Oh, the mayor's got one.
We'll sign a different one.
All right. That's where I sign? Okay. What's today? 6. Thank you. Mayor? You want to use your own pen?
I love accepting money.
Sir, I hope they got a line for you. You can just sign it. Nope. Okay. Fabulous. So we've now executed the intergovernmental agreement. We've committed the $8.65 million, up to the $8.65 million for the engineering, for moving the tracks over to the 10th Street corridor. And I do want to mention too, the mayor also talked about the Tiger grant, and I think that the Tiger application shows the city's commitment to this project, and we were proud to support that application with a letter of recommendation to USDOT, and we'll be watching that closely along with the mayor, and hopefully that will also come to fruition. Again, thank you all very much for being here today, and I think we're happy to answer any questions you might have. Yes, sir. It's actually funding half of the engineering, which is the design engineering to move those tracks. And so we've been working closely with the city, trying to identify other pots of money that might become available to help with offset those costs. And I think we're still working towards that.
I might add that as you look at this, and again, think in terms of this as an 8-year project, we're talking in terms of trying to do usable segments, so that when we think of the Carpenter Street underpass at the 10th Street tracks, while that involves $21-some million to do, there's also approximately $2 million for the planning within that. So as we try to do different usable segments, this is something that will be spread out over a period of time, and we're really counting on the federal government to come up with the other half of that planning and design money. It will not be in one lump sum, but it would be spread out over a period of time. Well, that's a problem with anything, but I fully anticipate that there will be dollars available, and high-speed rail is a priority for the Obama administration. And I think that while dollars are very, very tight, once we have this project going, I think that we will continue to see those types of federal dollars to make sure that we can complete this project. And again, as we take a look at the Springfield project, this is part of an overall project that really is running from St. Louis to Chicago, so that really becomes a very, very important part of the overall program on a national basis.
I'd like to add something. And I'd like to add something to that. The federal government now is getting started with determining what a national freight policy should look like. An important thing to remember is on the 10th Street corridor, we're going to have 2 freight railroads operating along that corridor. And I think as part of that national freight strategy, they're going to be looking for areas where they can make improvements. And I look to the next transportation bill to include some funds for those types of freight improvements. And so I think there's going to be some additional opportunities through that program as well.
Under federal regulations, today, any train that's passing through the city of Springfield, if it gets within a certain distance of a crossing, which I believe is 125 feet, they have to blow the whistle. That basically means when a train enters the city of Springfield at either end, they blow the whistle and they let the whistle go at the other end. So that as we have designed this project, once the 10th Street corridor is in place and we've made the improvements on the 19th Street tracks, there will never be another train whistle in the city of Springfield.
And I think the key to that is making sure you have a sealed corridor, which is why the safety improvements along 3rd Street, where we're going to put in the 4 quad gates, which essentially means a driver can't drive around the gates. That seals that corridor off for the trains, and that way they'll be able to use a quiet zone for that corridor until we can finish the improvements along 10th. I don't have that figure with me right now, but I can definitely get that to you as soon as I get done here. Well, I think part of what this does is it brings economic opportunity through the fact that businesses aren't going to have travelers that are delayed through these rail grade crossings, and that, I think, helps to make businesses invest more in what they're doing here and help the community grow. And I think the mayor could probably speak even more directly to that.
You know, I think one of the prime things to look at is what happened around the new train station in Normal, Illinois. And that is not an isolated situation. That is simply what has been duplicated all over the country. What we are planning here is to have a major facility that will be on both sides of the tracks in developing an intermodal station to not only cover the trains, but also to cover other forms of transportation in the city that would be between Adams and Washington and 9th and 11th. If we just think in terms of that project, the economic development opportunities that will impact East Springfield and the downtown area are phenomenal. Even in terms of just looking at the $8.65 million that we're talking about for this phase of planning and design, it is going to have a major impact in Springfield because all of that work will in fact be done by various engineering firms within our community. So the overall economic impact right now in terms of jobs is really huge, but you really have to look at it over a long period of time, and really today what we're talking about is the $8.65 million. And in terms of bringing tourists and visitors to the city of Springfield, there really is no way that once this project is done that you can begin to put the economic impact that is going to have for decades to come here in Mr. Lincoln's hometown.
And I'm glad the mayor mentioned the city of Normal, because that's a very important point to talk about. All along our intercity passenger rail corridors, we have communities that are leveraging the investment the state has made to make those corridors more viable and to make them higher speed here in Illinois. And up in Normal, they were able to, through their project there, they created a new rail station, a multimodal station actually, and they were able to leverage that into $200 million of private investment right around that area. And that's had a huge impact on that community in terms of jobs, in terms of attracting additional business to that area. So I think that I'm glad the mayor brought that up. We've also seen that happening in the Quad Cities, where we're now getting ready to do our first train in 30 years from Chicago to the Quad Cities, where they are working with private developers and they're leveraging that improvement to pull that private development money in.
Can I have one more? Yeah. Can I answer that question with a question for you? You know, what is the #1 employer in Sangamon County?
Medical industry.
The medical industry. The answer to that used to be the state of Illinois, but now it's the medical industry. 3rd Street is a Berlin Wall between our St. John's Hospital and Memorial Hospital. The #1 engine for growth in this community is the medical district, and we need to remove the trains from the 3rd Street tracks so that medical district can develop.
What we're anticipating right now is that 75% of that corridor will be at 110 miles per hour by the end of 2015. We're anticipating getting the whole corridor up to speed, literally, by the end of 2017 and 2020.